How y'all doing? My name is Darren Walker. I'm the host of XtraGame, and you are tuning in with Papers, Genocides, a hidden history exposed. Today, people. We're gonna talk a little bit about history. So how y'all doing today out there? Y'all also can go to XtraGame_89 at Instagram.com. Check me out. I be game streaming and all type of live stream, man. Even on Facebook at Darren Walker Facebook. Check me out. Yes, sir. So let's get to it. Paper Genocides, a history exposed. Episode 1. So, man, let's do it like this. Let me make this real for you. This ain't just some law 1924 in the history book. This is personal. My people lived in Meharo, Texas during slavery. It was 1865. I mean, my great grandfather was one of the first generations to try to reclassify a human being from with a tribe, a nation, and land into just the word colored on paper, which a lot of our ancestors was labeled as colored on paper because that was the name they gave us. They just switched our names so many times from Negroid, Negro, colored, African American, black, whatever is gonna be next. But we all get it. But yeah. The looks of what happens next after emancipation, instead of moving somewhere random like New York or California, his children ended up in Wichita Falls, which just so happens to be the land of Wichita Tokewana tribe. Now, the connection of reason why I said this is because my grandma's great my grandma's grandfather, her grandfather, was from Mejero, Texas, Mexico, Texas. It's in East Texas. Pretty sure they had plantations. Who knows? I figured out. But the thing about Wichita Falls Tokewana tribe is from the Mejero district, which is the limestone, the Mejero tribe, which is the Tokewana Indian slash Wichita Indians. It's kind of weird that he grew up in Mejero, probably a Tokewana Indian male, and his kids, descendants, ended up in Washita Falls. There got to be some type of connection spiritually. Just a thought. But what are the odds that my bloodline ended up living on the same land government erased on paper? Now you gotta understand, the Tokewania tribe and the Washita tribe was erased. You know very little history, then that's only what they give. So you got some black tribes of starting to get recognized, like the Creeks. You gotta understand the Black Seminoles, shit, some of the Choctaw, Chickasaws, Cherokees. Some of these are black tribes, and a lot of them been recognized, but a lot of us is not recognized yet, including myself. Pretty sure we know we are. But timeline matches 1865. Geograph matches Mexa, which is called tribal land. Movement matches freedom people often stayed near tribal lands they were observed into. So a lot of the free, as they say, kind of was already stayed where they were released from. So think about it. They already know the lands that being nervous, so if they was captive on their own land, they're not gonna go nowhere once they're back free on their own lands. But they're not knowing that this is their own land because they've been in slavery for years. The stories stuck around through the tribes, but people were shifted different places. In the early 20th century, laws like Racial Integrity Acts of 1924, Virginia forced people of mixed indigenous and African descendants to be reclassified as colored. This wasn't just a bureaucratic change, it was a deliberate act to erase Native Americans' identity from records. People like Cora Almond, who was originally listed as a native, found the records altered. This meant that generations and descendants lost their ability to trace their indigenous heritage and were cut off from their tribal roots. See, let's kind of go back to the connection of my grandma's grandfather being growing up in Mexico, Texas, Talcahuano region, Wichita, Washita region, but his descendants in the Washita Falls. It's something spiritually connected going back there. Kind of like, you know, saying that people are spiritually connected to certain things. And that's kind of like why my people probably came from Mexi to Waxahachie to Wichita. All Indian native named cities. Somewhere within these cities at a certain point in time, my ancestors had some particular type of benefits that benefited not only my ancestors but other aborigines of the land. Because the names, they have to carry some type of weight. Washita, Waxahachie, Mexico. You got to understand Dallas and Fort Worth are foreign towns. These towns in the 1800s were just being built for foreigners. These are foreign cities who had mass slaves. So, why does this matter today? Well, it's about reclaiming identity and acknowledging the full complexity of African Americans and indigenous history to hidden for that's were hidden for so long. It's about understanding how these policies shape who we are and how we identify ourselves today. Like I say, it's so much things that I identify us today. People try to tell us who we is, but our elders always held stories that were passed down, and that's all. That's how a lot of black people hold history within themselves, because a lot of their history is not going to be in books. That's written by the oppressor, by the ones who won the war. So they were writing the story. You know they gonna lie in the story. We even talk about cowboys and Indians. Shit, who you think the Indians was? Let's talk about who enforced this act in 1924. The act was enforced by Walter Plecker, registrar of the Bureau of the Vital Statistics. He sent letters to the clerk, birth certificates altered, tribal members relabeled as colored, Indian identities legally deleted from records. This is why it is considered a paper genocide. See, you gotta understand, not only do they paper genocides, they actually genocide cities. Yeah. And they have countless history of doing this. The behavior has repeated throughout history. You know, Rosewood, Lake Lanier, Tulsa, Oklahoma, hell, ancient civilizations, shit, anything you could think of, they had their hand in putting destruction on. They genocides a lot of shit. A lot of Aboriginal Americans was genocide. They don't talk about that. A lot of us was killed. We survived genocides. That's what the Trail of Tears was about. Like they tried to make us forget our story because we started the Civil War through slave revolts and black Indians. Like we gotta understand the real story. They made interracial marriages legal, erased Native Americans' identity in state documents, reclassified indigenous people as colored, destroyed tribal recognition and rights, created false historical documentations, which they teach in schools today. Indoctrination. Every person in whom there is ascertainable any Negro blood shall be deemed as a colored person, and it shall hereafter be unlawful for any white person to marry and save a white person. The act remained ineffective until it was struck down in 1967 by the Supreme Court case Loving v. Virginia. It was struck down. The damage is already done. That's what they do. You do the damage, then you take it away as another act of a silent war. I destroy you, and I come back and help you. The law shouldn't have been set down in the first place to cause the mental destruction. The paper to cause you erase them, then you come back saying, we're gonna take that back now. But you don't get everything we took in the process while we made this law back. So live with it. The act is one of the strongest documented examples of the United States government reclassification indigenous and mixed people into black, erasing whole nations on paper, which support the idea that many African Americans may descend from indigenous people whom identity was overwritten by law. Like, by law. Black people are Aboriginal Americans. They are the original Native Americans. Don't forget what y'all did. It's right here. You can't erase nothing when the truth is written in the Constitution and took it out because you had that change of heart. Which your heart should never been like that from Jump Street. Many scholars, lawyers, and human rights groups have said that ICE policies resemble cultural or paper genocide. Not necessarily mass killings, but the erasure of destruction of a people through document borders, classifications, and state violence. We're talking about ICE now, y'all. Yeah, it's a part of a newer genocides. Family separation policies. Children taken from parents with no reunification system. Some argue that resemble the genocide clause of forcible transferring children. Deportation that breaks families and communities, destroy lineage and continuity, especially of indigenous migrants. Death in detention from neglect, lack of medical care results in preventable death. Whoa. And this is ICE. Yeah. Things with history will forever repeat itself because the people we got in control who want to run things based on policy. ICE does something structurally similar, not but erasing ancestral, but by erasing legal existence through paperwork, custody, and displacement. This is similar to 1924 Act. This is very similar. Like just a different time frame and a different set of people who are still colored because they're Latino, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominican, black, whatever the fuck. You're colored in the eyes of them. You are not who you say you are. We will reclassify you. ICE, you are not legal part of the nation. We remove you. And this is all kind of like the 1924 Act of Virginia. But they did say that they took it out, I believe, 1967, and bring it right back with ICE under another thing. This is how they play ball. This is how they play ball, y'all. Now, listen to me now. The 1924 Act targets indigenous black population to reduce their presence on record. And this is kind of what's going on with the Hispanic population. They'd be like, well, they should have came in the correct way. Motherfucker, y'all didn't come in the correct way. And they're mulattoes. They have Aborigine blood in their system. So they're part of the land themselves. Hell, if I recall, but you gotta understand the Spaniard, English, Britain, and all these different denominations came over here together to rule. Like I said, man, ICE in 1924 Virginia Act are the same thing. They're the same thing. They just ain't pushing it on black folks no more like that. It's more passive racist with black folks. Like, I'm not racist, but I really am, but I'm gonna act like I'm not. That's the first thing a racist say. But let's say paper genocides. And this was all government structural, and there's still paper genocide. They probably do this at jobs, all type of thing, because that's just how wicked people move. You understand? We deal with paper genocides all the time. This ain't nothing new. You gotta understand that.
Welcome to the Library of Virginia. I am Ashley
Play this
R.
little video
Craig,
right
the
quick.
Community Engagement and Partnership Specialist at the Library of Virginia.
You
I am
gotta
in
know
the
it's
gallery
real
where
in
our
the
current
field, man.
exhibition, Indigenous
Then I'm gonna get
Perspectives,
up
is
out
on
of
display until August 17th, 2024. Today, I would like to highlight a complicated and complex moment in Virginia's history, the passage of the Racial
And
Integrity
this
Act
is
of 1924.
similar to ICE.
March 20th, 2024 marks the centennial of the passage of the Racial Integrity Act that was signed into law by Governor Albert Lee Trinkle. In simplistic terms, every individual living in the Commonwealth of Virginia was required to state their race on a registration card that was issued by the Bureau of Vital Statistics. Also, the law stated that there were only two races in Virginia, quote, white or quote, colored.
Man.
If a person failed to register, they could be charged with a felony and 1 year of
What were
confinement in the
Mexicans and
state
stuff at?
penitentiary. Once this legislation was enacted, Dr. Walter Plecker, the director and registrar of the Virginia Bureau of Vital Statistics, used the entire state apparatus to increase the tax on particular communities in Virginia, especially indigenous Virginians. Due to this law, indigenous Virginians were eliminated from written record because they were to be identified as colored instead of as Indian. The act was the beginning of a paper genocide in Virginia. Dr. Plecker sought to enforce the law by circulating a list of surnames to all the Virginia's circuit clerks that supposedly identify what he called, quote, mixed Negroid Virginia families striving to pass as Indian or white in each county. Many of the surnames on this document can be connected to some of Virginia's federally and state recognized tribes today. Plecker also sent out alerts to county officials, hospitals, doctors, midwives, and other healthcare workers and record keepers about families who he considered suspect. On January 13th, 1942, he wrote to Mary Atkins of Roxbury, Virginia, who he described as Indian. He informed her that, quote, we find that you are unable to read or write. The race of both parents is given as Indian. That term is no longer accepted as a correct one on a birth or death certificate, as it has been clearly established by thorough study of all groups claiming to be Indians that there is no native-born Virginian family claiming to be Indians is unmixed with Negro.
See, but like I was saying, man, It was so much systematic reconstruction and so much money put into reconstructing our identity. But it's up to us to wake up and claim our identities and get what's owed. The United States owe that, and they got to pay that. And God know that, the universe know that, and the time is coming. The truth will be put in schools, regardless how harsh it is. If we could talk about slavery in school, we could put the truth in school of all humanity, from all humanity downfalls to all humanity rises, is one. But they say y'all have a blessed one, and I'm for sure gonna let y'all go this time, man. Thank y'all for tuning in to Extra Game. It's your boy Extra, and I'm out.